Are we
Sorry,
playing
I was like,
footsie?
oh my God, I was talking about
smut, and she's starting to play footsie with me and One Nightstand. We're getting into it.
Well, Haley Lu Richardson, welcome so much to One Nightstand.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you here.
Kind of sexy.
I know. We try. You've brought some incredible books with you.
Have I?
Yeah.
No, I love them.
Yeah, they're great. Have you always been a big reader?
No.
Ah, interesting.
I have not. And then actually acting, being an actor, and having to read scripts all the time for my job has made me want to read actually less.
Interesting.
So I'm a perfect guest. But I will say, when I love a book and when I get into it, which is really rare, like I'll get gifted books often, or just bookstores are romantic and cute to go in, like when I'm traveling. So I love the energy of a bookstore, and I'll just like think I'm a reader and buy 10 books, and then I'll start reading them all and not get into them. Like, it's very rare when I like really get hooked by a book.
Yeah.
But then it like takes over my life.
Oh, I love
like
that.
Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, you get
taken
locked
over.
in.
Yeah.
What is it like when you're reading scripts then? Do you have like a gut reaction to a script?
Yes.
Or? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's like, it's tedious because 99.9% of scripts I read on a regular basis are below average. Like, they're just like,
Not
even if they're
ideal.
a good script, it's like, it doesn't spark
Yeah.
something in you. And it's like kind of soul crushing to force yourself to continue reading, because reading should be such a like inspiring, like imaginative experience. So I kind of get burnt out from reading, but it is like, it's a rare joy to find a book that like just gets me.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Are
Well,
you a big reader? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's mainly, it's kind of like, it is it's not, that's wrong to say it's only partly pleasure. It's definitely pleasure, but it also like is very helpful for me. Like, really helps my like nervous system calm down.
Yeah, that is so true. Like, and reading a book, like getting hooked into a book, is so much healthier than getting hooked into like binge watching something, because it's just like that type of consumption is like so much healthier and grounding and peaceful. Like, it's so much easier to fall asleep after you've read like 10 chapters of a book than watching 10 episodes of a show.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And so I like very actively cultivate the habit, I guess.
Yes.
But
and it sparks your imagination more, because
Exactly.
when you see things, look, I'm like shitting on the thing that I do.
Yeah.
Like
You're like,
watching
"Movies
shows and
suck."
actors. But it's like when you read a book, it's like there's so much open to interpret and imagine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with The Orange by Wendy Cope, an amazing poetry collection by a fellow Brit.
Yeah.
Tell me what you love about that book.
I wouldn't say, even though I am coming out with this poetry book, I'm not like a poetry connoisseur. Like, I'm not like really well versed in like the best of the best poets. But I was introduced to Wendy a few years ago by her poem, The Orange.
Yeah.
And I was like, the simplicity of it, but how freaking meaningful it felt. Like, by the end, I was like, wow, I love you. I'm glad I exist. Like, that's the final line in this poem. And it's just like so simple, but it really hit me deep. And so when I read this book, that's what her poetry is like. It's like very sweet, like do, but it's so much more than that. Sometimes they can be like really feisty. Sometimes they can be super powerful. Sometimes they can be a little sassy. And sometimes they can just like a lot of her poems are like mic drop moments, I feel.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
They've got like a little kicker at the end.
Yeah,
It's like,
and I
ding.
like that they have a little kick.
Yeah.
It's a spicy orange.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that, because poetry sometimes can be exhausting because it's like people trying to express
Literally.
and she's not trying.
No.
She's just writing, but they are powerful poems.
I agree. My
Yeah.
least favorite types of poems are where it's like, let me say this idea in the most obscure way possible.
Yeah,
I'm like, fuck off.
And it's like good for you that you can do that. But my brain, and also it's like, I don't know, I feel like poetry, because I'm not like educated really in the world of poems, like I feel like there's, ignorance and stuff that comes with that, but also like a fresh perspective of like what is poetry.
Yes.
And I think, to me, what personally hits me with poetry is when it's just like raw, like it just is what it is, and it's not trying to be really deep or really
perform.
Yeah, perform.
I agree. And do you have a favorite poem in this collection?
Well, I love the orange.
The orange is so good.
But honestly, I love Worry.
Worry
really got me because you think it's about one thing. That's something I think Wendy does too, is like you think it's about one thing and in the end you're like, oh. And worry's kind of savage because it's like, I worry about you, you know, because I'm in all this pain and I just worry if you're in all this pain too. And then at the end she's like, I worry that you're not in that pain. Yeah. It's vulnerable.
It's so vulnerable.
Yeah.
I worry about you so long since we spoke, and then at the end I worry in case they are wrong.
Yeah. That's a good one. And also, what's it called? 2 Cures for Love, or the 2 Cures for Love. It's very short. That's another thing I like her is like, what is a poem? And sometimes a poem can just be like 2 like lines, like a thought.
This is a fun one. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah. 2 Cures for Love. 1, don't see him. Don't phone or write a letter. 2, the easy way. Get to know him better. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Like, that's poetry, baby.
It is so good. I loved Being Boring with where she's talking about when she falls in love and then at the end she's like, and now I found a safe mooring. I've just one ambition in life. I aspire to go on and on being boring.
It's so great because it's like sometimes all you want is like routine in a safe space and just like, if you don't think that's interesting, I don't care.
No, exactly. Yeah. And it's a very it is a specific thing that I think as you get older, like
it's very grown.
It is.
Yeah.
How old are you? 30?
30. Yeah, I'm pretty grown these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find turning 30?
The second I turned 29, I was like, oh my God, it's almost over.
Yeah.
I was really excited to hit 30 because I just like the last few years of my life have been really letting go of a lot, and I feel like in a big like transition.
Yeah.
And I was like ready to have that mark happen.
I get that. My 20. You couldn't pay me to go back to my 20s.
Are you in your 30s?
Yeah, 37.
Yeah. How is it?
Fucking great.
Really?
Yeah, my 20. I mean, listen, really high highs in your 20s, but the lows. Whoo,
yeah.
Whoo.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up.
In your 30s, you just shed any of that. Like, it's like Being Boring, that poem where you like no longer care about what other people might think or how they might analyze and whether you're seen as fun or any of those things.
And you actually start thinking, what do I like? Who do I like?
Yes.
What do I want? Like, what are my actual goals? Like, do I really need to be a wife, or like, do I just need to find inner peace? Like, like I it's pretty great. Also, like, did I ever like that guy, or did I just like want him to like me? Like, there's a lot of that. But it's been pretty great so far. These last few months have been wonderful.
Have you made any decisions about what you want or anything when you say you think about being in your 30s and being like, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? Or
I mean, I just feel super ready because of, you know, you went through it, like the Saturn return, you end of your 20s, the letting go. Like if you're like really open to that kind of stuff and present with it, you really feel it and it makes sense, like what's happening. And I had a lot of like endings, and then I've recently decided to move.
You moving cities or just like
oh
really?
Yeah. And also just like kind of these ideas. Like the first thing when I turned 30, my parents texted me like a week into my 30s and we're like, we just finished watching this 60 Minutes episode about like freezing your eggs. You should look into that. And I was like, guys, it's been a week. Like, give me some time here. And then I've really been thinking, because I always felt like I wanted to have a kid and I always felt like I wanted to get married. And I'm like, I definitely would be open to that, but it's kind of not the end all be all for me.
That's the thing.
I never thought I'd say that.
No, I think a lot of women who go into their 30s as single, or like not even single, but like maybe not sort of coupled in the sense of like knowing exactly where you're going. I think they sort of arrive at that feeling of like, oh wait, I don't actually have to stay on that course.
Yeah,
that I don't thought was like set in stone.
It's really cool. Like the dreams you have for yourself when you're 8, like, they change.
Yeah.
You don't have to fulfill those things.
Totally. And you get
just
to
because you named your children when you were 8 doesn't mean that has to happen.
Yeah.
Like, what a concept.
I always remember saying to my friend, I was like, I really hope my husband is like this. And she was like, babe, you get to choose them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah.
True. Agency. Oh my God, agency. Yeah. And like, I feel like the journey too of end of 20s and coming into my 30s now, and with this book and like just everything I've just like really expressed, like catharted and released, like I just feel like I've found a genuine care for myself.
That's so lovely.
It is fucking lovely.
It is lovely.
And now I crave that less from others.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's the thing.
It's
yeah.
really meaningful.
When did you start writing your poetry collection?
Well, there is one poem in the book I wrote when I was 14.
Yeah, I love that. What is the line that I wrote down that I thought was so sweet? It was about it's question mark, isn't it?
Yes.
Where you sort about I'm done with boys, now I'm moving on to men. Or
Yeah,
something
the
like
line
that.
is, I'm 14 now, I'm going for men.
Yeah.
Which I found that in an old journal and I was like, yes, queen.
Yes.
Are people still saying that? It was amazing to find my old poetry and also like hilarious in kind of a pitiful way because I'm writing about the exact same stuff now with a slightly wiser perspective and voice, but like it's the exact same shit I'm writing about these days. So that was a funny realization. But most of the poems in this book I've written in the last like 2 or 3 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
About like really reflective, like in the moment processing, and about kind of this last half of my 20s and all the things we're, talking about of like going into a next phase of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite poem in your collection?
I love a lot of them, honestly, because they just they've kind of all been like either sad thoughts or epiphanic, is that a word? Epiphanic thoughts. I'm committing to it. I've had that have like really changed things for me.
I loved 10 of Swords.
You did?
Yeah, I loved that one.
Cool.
Yeah, and I also loved 100th First Date.
Oh yeah, that's a
good
relatable one.
Yeah.
I was writing that and I was like, yeah, I think a couple will relate. A couple people out there could relate.
100%.
Yeah, 100.
Literally. Because there is just something so like specific about that feeling. So I'm just looking to see what page it was because I wrote it down.
I'm glad.
114.
That's cool. You like 10 of Swords too. I don't think anyone that I've shared the book with that's read them all has like called that one out specifically.
really?
So that's cool. Yeah.
No, I can't remember what.
Are you really into tarot?
I'm curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could give you a tarot reading sometime.
Really?
I'm like kind of great at it. I took one class, but I'm a natural.
I would love a reading. Do you want to read 100th First Date for us, or
Do you want to read it?
Oh, I'll get it all wrong.
I'll read one.
Yeah. What do you want to read?
Hey?
What the hell?
I'll read 100th First Date.
Go on
I'll give
then.
it a try.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Also, the sad makeup wipe.
Oh, yeah.
The sad
Oh.
used makeup wipe. It's
Yeah.
like my friend Lily designed this book and did all this art, and it's like the coolest thing
The
to
art
me.
is
But
so good.
yeah, shout out to Lily Jade Kravitz. But when she sent me this, I was like, because I had all these ideas for this one that were like really complicated and like symbolic and trying too hard,
Yeah.
And then she just sent me this, and I was like, oh my God, that's
got
so
it.
sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a professional clearing my throat. Okay. 100th First Date. Let this be the one. Or at least let it be fun. Sick of egos unchecked and laces undone. The tortured artist, the good guy ghost. Just want a person to choose that likes me the most. It's not because I need it. I'm fine on my own. I tell myself and my friends to prove how I've grown. It's true. I've grown acres. My aches are the makers. Made the woman I am. Want to grab her and shake her. You're more than enough. You have such a full life. Problems won't go away once you're somebody's wife. It's true. I do. I love my life, but I'd also love a break from the lessons and ruts. So let it be fate, 'cause I can't bear the weight of 101 failed first dates.
So good.
That one kind of reads a little bit Dr. Seussy, which I kind of love.
I love the like flash like that, like towards the end when you're like carrying the weight of like sometimes like being single. I mean, I'm single. I love being single, but there are some times when I'm like, oh, God, I would love a co-pilot right now.
And also the effort of putting yourself out there to connect with someone, and then the disappointment of like this again,
Yeah.
like is exhausting. And it's like when you get the energy and the desire to put yourself out there again, and then it just kind of knocks you down. It's like, even as I become more comfortable being on my own and not needing that, it's still exhausting.
It is. And you have to be sort of like radically vulnerable in a way that is like quite illogical.
Oh, for sure.
The chances are this probably isn't
Like,
going to work.
hope is so illogical.
Exactly.
Like, hope is delusional.
It's exactly.
Like,
you're like, maybe this one.
But then you're trying to be more rational in life and like grounded, but like you also don't want to become a bitter bitch.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like, yeah, it's a fine line to walk.
Yeah.
Living this life.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I think lots of people will relate to that poem. Like, I mean, because it is such a thing where you're like, oh, we go again.
Yeah,
like,
here we go again, hoping for the best.
Yeah.
It's like, do I get all dressed up for this first date, or do I just fucking go in my pajamas? And like, I don't know. First dates are dating is, life is, everything is.
Yeah, I know. And even like finding the people to go on a date with isn't easy anymore.
Yeah, how the heck do you do it?
I mean, my friends opened Hinge for me this weekend. They were like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of actually a good...
I've got a Hinge.
Have you?
Yeah.
Do you use it?
On and off.
Yeah, same.
Sometimes, even just, it doesn't even take getting to the first date to be kind of disappointed and exhausted. Like, dating apps are that as well.
Yeah.
But...
Do you use Raya or any of those?
Oh my God, Raya makes me want to throw up.
Same.
Yeah.
I got rid of it.
Yeah. Neither of us will ever get sponsored by Raya or partnership with Raya. Yeah. But no, it's like, it's turned into, apparently when it first started, it was like more kind of honest, or like, I guess the whole setup for why it existed was working. But now it's just like these clinger dickwads that, sorry to anyone out there that's that's on Raya, but no, it's
flip-flop wearing dubstep lovers. That
Raya.
was the line. What have you?
Actually, no, he was a waiter.
Okay.
No, that was a real life meet.
Yeah. That's a fun one though. I mean, I love that you're meeting people in the real world. That's the holy grail, I think. But it's not easy to do.
It's not.
Yeah. And I suppose you travel quite a lot for work, right? You must be on set and stuff.
And most people I meet in real life are in this industry I'm in, and I'm kind of disillusioned by those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And Wendy actually has some funny poems as well, men talking.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're kind of savage.
Yes.
Like, they're like sneakily, like, they really hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, I like that kind of like with your poetry, you feel like it's for the girls. Like, Wendy's poems are for
the girls, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because I really discovered Wendy around the time that I decided, or had the spark of the idea to make a book of my poems. And it was cool because I had written so many of my poems already, and then I really got into Wendy, and I was like, there's so many like I just feel like there's a connection there.
Yeah.
They're different, but there's a little connection. And some of her poems are a little like do 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 boop.
Yeah.
Which I like that rhythm.
She was a primary school teacher, which is like in the UK 4 to 11.
Yeah, I read that about her.
You sort of feel that where everything's sort of like, but then you know that it's like the primary school teacher when they get to the like teacher's room after class.
Yeah, and how they really feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the Dr. Seussy feel, but then turning it on its head and it being about more mature, deeper things.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Well, next I thought we could talk about Notes on Shapeshifting.
Yeah, more poetry.
Yeah, exactly, by Gabi Abrão.
Have you read this?
I loved this.
Oh, cool. Did you read it like...
I read it this weekend.
Oh, cool. it's easy to read because it's so like...
good.
It's like reading your own brain, I feel.
And this section, How to Heal Heartbreak, I wanted to like... tattoo to my forehead and or post to every friend I know going through a breakup.
It's this one was spiritual for me.
Yes.
Because a friend gave it to me a few years ago when it came out, and I had never had an experience. I had never read a book like that before. It's a very specific type of book.
Yeah.
Because it's poetry, but it's also thoughts, and it's like posts and essays and like late night trying to fall asleep thoughts. It's like it really felt like it was my own brain articulating things for the first time.
Yeah.
And I just I've never had an experience with a book like that before or after since then. Yeah.
Wow. And so you just gobbled it up and were like,
gobbled it. Yeah. I've read that one a few times. It's been a minute since I've reopened it because I gave it to a friend that it was going through heartbreak, so I don't have my copy anymore. I've got to get another one. But
the breakup section is so good. I also loved the description of a birthday as a moment of half wallowing, half hypersocial celebrating.
Wow.
Because I was like, I cry every birthday. Actually, I didn't this year, but I tend to cry
Good
every birthday. I know, right? I'm making progress. 37 is look it up. But that mixture of like, you're like, wait, you sort of feel like all the peaks and troughs in that one day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, birthdays are
vulnerable.
They're vulnerable, and they like you see a lot on your birthday. I feel like some things that you don't pay attention to every day. Like when it's your birthday, you're paying attention to all of them, and it's a lot.
What did you do for your 30th?
I was filming, and I actually had a really great day. Like I've had some set birthdays that were pretty sad, but this time, honestly, it was mainly to do with Amelia Clark, who
for
ponies, who I was working with, and she is like the most generous, joyful, earnest, loving peanut. Like she is so giving, and she really like made my birthday special, and that whole crew was just like, it was just a wonderful birthday. And then I threw a party for myself, and like they surprised me in my trailer, and I had all these things, and it was balloons like filling my whole trailer. I've never had a surprise like that before. And I had a party at night, got hammered. It was great.
Love that for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's so fun.
There was like a point in the night where my friend who was DJing was like, now what song do you really want to sing right now? And it was like that point in the night where like you're feeling the wallowing of a birthday. And I was like, Funeral by Phoebe Bridgers. Everyone was like in this like party mood, and I was like, I'm singing at a funeral tomorrow. But it was great.
That's so fun.
I like giving in to the sadness these days.
Me too. I think that's key because you move through it then.
Yeah, you have to give in.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite film, Inside Out.
Oh, yes.
You have to embrace sadness.
Yeah.
Because like you can't have joy without sadness, and also you can't feel compassion without knowing sadness.
Totally. And I always remember one therapist said to me, like he was talking about his mother when his father died, and he was like, my mom was lying on the floor howling, and he was like, there's nothing wrong with that. No, there's nothing wrong with that image. That's
you have to imagine not in a situation like that.
But I think he was trying to get at my like very British way of wanting to push away all feelings. And then like now I'm like, no, it's so much more healthier to just like live through even the hard stuff.
And like letting yourself be like fully like broken and pitiful is like, that's where I think the healing really starts.
And I think in your poetry collection, I loved when you were talking about like going through a breakup, and that's sort of like, will I ever stop feeling this? Will I ever stop? That's the only part that I sometimes would get like, oh, this is hard to move through.
And sometimes that voice is like less, and you're feeling really good. But then when you have like something that triggers that voice, it's like, oh my God, you're still there. And it can get pretty dark.
I still have bad dreams about stuff that happened to me like 20 years ago. Which I think to some extent it always, but maybe that's fine.
Sometimes too, that voice like becomes a like a pattern that won't go away. Like there was this heartbreak rejection I was going through, and like every time I would get up to pee in the middle of the night, I would sit on the toilet and I would reach for the toilet paper, and I would think of it and feel it. And then like my body started getting in this like habit of feeling that so like I would like, honestly, it kind of made me develop insomnia because I was like scared to fall asleep because I know I'd have to wake up to pee, and then I'd feel this feeling in the middle of the night. But time makes it a little better.
Are you like, a therapy person?
I'm a therapist.
Well,
Can you tell?
Are
you?
Yeah.
I think we should all be. I really do.
Yeah. Although I was talking to someone on Friday who's a therapist, and he was like, you should encourage your patients to graduate as well, which I think is healthy too.
Yeah. I think that is too. And there's also like times in life where maybe you don't need it as much. Exactly. And you like learn the things you learn in therapy, so then you can use that like as resources in your life. And then like it's obvious if you have a good connection with yourself and you're honest with yourself, it's obvious when you're like, oh, I'm really stuck here and I could use that kind of help.
How did you break the toilet tick of like going to the loo and like
truly just time. Like that voice was so strong for so long, and I was like deep in the misery and the hopelessness of like, I will always be like this. But then one day I woke up to pee in the middle of the night, and I had the feeling, and I realized, did this happen last night? And it didn't. And I was like, oh. It's possible.
Yeah.
It will get better.
Yeah. And then they start to like add up.
Yeah, they start to add up and you're like, oh my God, it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say something in the book about like passing this grocery store on the PCH and not having that feeling. Whereas every other time I did it for like 2 years, I had that feeling. And it's like, then like a week goes by and you realize you've passed it 8 times and you're like, huh.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good when you like.
Yeah.
But those like physical spaces that have the like triggering memories are like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. The smells, the people. Sometimes even it affects like other relationships that you know through and you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Or like a person you went through it was a dark time in your life and you were really close with this one person at the time. Then it's like, it's hard to get over it with that person. Like see past that in the friendship. It's
tough. Yeah. I loved one of the lines that I wrote down from Gabi's book was when she was talking about her best friends, like who are such a divine piece of your identity that physical distance doesn't change a thing. And I texted that to some of my friends in the UK because I was like, beautiful. It is so lovely, isn't it? Were your friends a big support for you going through a breakup whenever? Yeah. Yeah. It's the most important, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Like, it really is to have like a safe space where you can just, because it's one thing like making yourself the safe space that you can be okay feeling things fully with yourself. Like that is very hard, but to find that with another person and with a friend or my mom, like it's like really special.
Yeah. It's so special. And it's sort of like, I think the thing that I think most about my friends who helped me through a bad breakup is that they were willing to have the same conversation with me. Like, over and over.
Yeah. There have been times where I feel like, oh my God, I'm annoying them. I'm exhausting them. Oh my God, they have to see me again and I'm going to cry again and on a fun night. But like, they never made me feel that way. It was really just me. Like, there was this one time I had a hard night and I saw this ex at a party and it was really dramatic. And I drove there with a friend and the whole ride home, it was like a 45-minute ride and she was driving. And I was in the front seat and we didn't talk at all. And I just was crying and she had her hand she was holding my hand the whole like 45-minute drive.
That's amazing. That is that's friendship.
I didn't have to talk about it. She just like makes me want to cry. Like a really, really sweet moment.
Yeah, because it's also that idea that with your friends, you don't have to be talking about how you're going to fix it. You can just be like in that moment and be like, that sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm glad you have friends like that. I also loved in Gabi's book, when she talks about the vessel holding the observer and the performer. And I wondered how that feels for you when you're like going through your own personal experiences and then you're on set as well. Like, does that ever feel like, do you ever have slippage between the two?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, well, with my book too, like I've been thinking so much lately about the metaphor of a sad clown, which is really, I think, in line with that. Or to me, it's like we all have these masks that we do to like function in life and like get through awkward situations or situations where we don't feel safe. And as an actor, like I'm constantly showing up to things where I don't know anyone. I'm in a new country, but I have to like cry the first day about my husband dying in front of 150 men I've never met. Like, and that's weird. Yeah. So it's like, I guess it's like a relationship you make, I think, with the performer or the mask that we wear or the things we do to like get through.
Yeah.
Or to protect ourselves. Cause it's like, it's important that they're there. Cause sometimes we need like to be protected.
Totally.
But it's also like relying on it and having that exist like completely and not being conscious of it and not being like having a relationship with it is, I think, where we like get lost or become just a performer all the time.
I mean, it's crazy to me how long that you guys are often on set. Like, say for a TV show like a White Lotus, how long are you on set for something like that?
That was 5 months.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long time.
5 months.
And you like literally live like a Hannah Montana double life, but like on steroids. Like I just live in my little house with my cat and I kind of am a homebody, and then I go to wherever in the world with a whole new group of people I've never met and live like another life. Like I'm going out all the time. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. Like it's a strange thing.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing.
So do you write poetry when you're working, or is it more that you do when you're off?
You know, I've really like committed to writing poetry in the last like 2.5 years. I've written poetry on and off in my life, but like most of these poems were written while I was on set in South Africa doing this movie. And I was like really in my feels. And I was like writing like 3 poems a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I would be like in the, you know, cast tent outside in the rain on a night shoot, just like this, just like writing things, and I'd like start crying, and then like one of the other actors would be like, "You okay?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm just feeling it." But yeah, so I guess I just write them. You know, I journal a lot, and then I think poetry comes from my journal entries a lot. 'Cause sometimes I read things and I'm like, wow, if I like heard that in a song, I would feel seen.
Yeah.
So it's like that's kind of
totally
poetic.
You're a Swiftie, right? You're a Taylor Swift fan.
Oh, yeah.
Because I saw you mention that at the start, and like,
yeah. Honestly, I've always like respected Taylor, and like there's been phases of hers and mine that I've like really been into her music, but with the Eras tour, I was just like blown away by her.
Yeah.
I was just like blown away. I went to the concert twice. The first time I went to see Biba Doobie.
Oh, cool.
And then I stayed for the Taylor Swift Eras tour. Yeah. But I like was just blown away by her presence and her power. And then the next time I went in LA, I like knew every single song, and I was like fully in it.
One other line that I wrote down from Gabi's book is I'd rather work to be comfortable with innate truths of existence than take part in the endless flex for perceived control.
Like, God,
I know.
These are
some bangers. Do you worry about are you like a control person, or you're pretty like easy breezy?
I don't see myself as one, but there's certain things where it sneaks up on me.
Yeah.
And I'll be, you know, in therapy, and she'll be like, Haley, do you think this comes from like maybe because you're not in control here? And I'm like, oh my God, I guess I am a control freak sometimes with certain things. Are you?
Yeah, for sure. Because I feel no, I definitely am, and I struggle with that. So that's when I saw that line, I was like, dang.
You know what? In this, wait, where is her book? Just this like little intro thing. This. I read this first page and I was like, this is my brain. This is my brain, but like a few steps ahead of me, like a slightly more healed version of my brain, like an articulate version of my brain. She said, every few hours, I swear I'm too alive, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. A rushing waterfall is a master of stillness.
Yeah, dang.
That honestly made me find a little bit more love for myself. And a little bit more like surrender to just this constant like flow of energy and change and feeling.
Wow, yeah, it's beautiful.
Honestly, if the book was just that, it would still be one of my favorite books.
It's
like if
so
the whole
good.
book was just those 2 lines.
Yeah, that was my favorite of all the ones that I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Well, talking of, you know, women who are coming to terms with themselves, your third book, 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo.
Yeah. Had you read this before?
Yeah, I reread it and had a different reaction to it this time, actually. But tell me about your own. Tell me about your love for this book.
This book was like a life-changing experience for me in a similar way Notes on Shapeshifting was, but different kind of more specific theme. Like sexual desire and sexual shame existing together and like playing off each other, even though they're like so contradicting. I feel like, and like owning the shame, like it was like I never read something that was so just like fully raw, honest about women's like sexual yearning and shame. Like I felt like really seen, and I felt like it lifted a lot of my shame, because I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one who has these they like, I mean, at least for me, like they kind of play off each other in like a way that I've always thought like, am I fucked up? Like, and I guess we all are. I just thought like how blatantly open it was about that was like world changing.
Yeah, I thought Lena's story in particular, the woman
Which one was Lena?
She's got the small children.
Yeah,
and
she's having the affair.
She has the affair with Aidan.
Yeah,
it's just so beautifully told, like this like awakening of like what she, and also just what she enjoys sexually. Like it's sort of, you can tell she's a bit surprised by it in parts,
because so many of us are like really suppressed.
Yeah.
And it's like society that's doing that, but it's also like our own shame that's like fueled by what society deems as shameful. And it's like, I just think I don't feel like this book like answered all the questions or tied anything up in a bow, but it was like just talking about it so frankly was the answer, I think, of just like being open, like real about what's actually going on for us. Like,
and also that sense of, I think what I found really interesting about Lena's story in particular was like she was trying to work out where to center her own sexual needs and desires within like her other roles and functions, and as a mother, as a wife, and you know, I think I liked the bit where Lisa talked about how in the group that she was a part of, where they were talking about all these experiences, the other women in the group would sometimes get annoyed with her. They were like, you've got a husband who pays the bills, who's like nice to you, and who like, you know, why do you want more? And it's like, oh, that is a profound thing that we like push ourselves to not want more.
Yeah. I'm having so many personal thoughts right now that I'm not going to say on camera, but I'm like, that's what this book did for me. It made me like be honest with myself for maybe the first time as deeply as these women were honest with Lisa. And that's another thing. I've actually never met Lisa in person, but I met her over Zoom, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, which is why I wanted to read this book. Cause I had like a 4-hour Zoom with her, and it was like about another project that she was maybe going to make. And I was like, this woman is my like person. Like I was so inspired by her. I felt so like safe with her, and I really admire her, and I was so excited to read her book. And then when I read this, I was like, that's so fun. She spent like 8 years going around and like integrating her life with these women's life to be able to tell their story this frankly, their stories. I'm like just so impressed.
Yeah, I think you do a like really brilliant version of that in your own book as well. Like, you know, you sort of talk about, you know, is it the Night at the Coliseum or something? Which is
Safe at the Coliseum.
That's
a sex poem.
Yeah, exactly. And and
it is called I'm Sad and Horny, so I figured there had to be at least one like truly erotic poem.
Was there any part of you that felt nervous, like publishing that? Were there any that you were like, oh, you know, I might just keep this one for me?
A couple I kept, a lot I didn't put in the book, but I didn't put them in the book because I'm like, ooh, this is too personal. I put them in the book because I felt like I didn't like them as much. But, you know, I had some fear, I guess, about putting something that's so vulnerable and like, here's my shit, take it or leave it, like out in the world. But a lot of that was dissolved when I sent them to my parents. Because I was like, that was a big thing for me. I'm like, my dad's going to know this book exists. He's going to read these because he's supportive and loves me. So he's going to like try to support something I make and do. And I was like, I can't send these to my dad. But I was like, if I'm going to send them to the world, I got to send them to my dad. And just like knowing my dad was reading them, like made me feel like, yeah, I can have anyone else read these. If my dad can, I can, anyone else can. So.
And what was his reaction?
Oh my God, it was so sweet. My dad was a graphic designer, so he's like very much, I think was all he really could focus on in the book truly was the design, the formatting. And he sent me an email with like all of his notes on what the font should be and different things about spacing of ellipses and ligatures and all these like formatting technical things. And then at the very end of the email, he was like, P.S. I read the poems. I liked them, some more than others. Some were hard for a daddy to read. but I read them.
Oh.
It's a beautiful concept when you like start feeling more like comfortable with yourself and not needing everyone to like see you and like you. It's like such a beautiful thing when someone supports you without understanding fully. Like that's a really beautiful concept. Like
Totally.
Like my dad, there's no way I could ask him to understand me and see me for all that I am. You know, I mean, he's my freaking dad. He's like a 67-year-old man. But like he read them.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm proud of you. I don't get a lot of it, but I'm not judging.
No, exactly.
You know? And it's like, I will support you and tell you to use Courier.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so special.
I know, it's really special.
And did your mom like them as well? Did you get her to read them?
My mom, I think, likes them. I think it's a similar thing with my dad. She's supportive and proud of me. She probably understands them more than my dad understands. She's read them all like at least 20 times. She's read through the whole book. And sometimes like it's been taking her longer to get things sometimes. Like she just understood that was a makeup wipe like last week. She was like, I didn't realize that's a makeup wipe. And I'm like, that's so cute that you have to read it that many times and she's still like discovering things.
Totally.
I feel like that's the best kind of art is when you can watch it over and over and discover something new.
Oh, I love that. That's so nice though. I
know.
I mean, it's a hard thing like to be vulnerable in front of people with, you know, but I think you're so funny while doing it that I think like, you know, like that's the American Horror Story one and stuff like that. Like it's but it's funny and you're like, we're going there.
I'm like, hey, yep, that's real. That happened.
That happened.
Yep.
We'll let everyone discover that themselves. One. Yep.
Yeah. It was a true horror story.
Yeah. But no, I also thought like in Three Women, both Lena and Maggie, like kissing is so important for them, like with intimacy, and so that's why I love
to kiss.
Right, but some boys don't get it.
Oh my god, that's a big red flag. Like the one French kiss was literally me teaching a man how to kiss.
Exactly.
Like, I think he'd been in like well, I shouldn't say all this, but
he needed some guidance.
He needed some guidance. He like literally, he must have just like only pecked his whole like 30 whatever years of life, and I was like kissing him like a makeout, like French kiss, like that's a thing. I'm not crazy.
No.
And he was like, whoa, and I was like, dude, it's this or nothing with me. Yeah. Like, you want to leave? And he's like, no.
Yeah. You're like, buckle up.
Buckle up, Buster.
Yeah.
And he did. Fun. He buckled.
Good for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as he should.
You're welcome.
But no, I loved it, and I'm really glad that I reread Three Women this weekend. I really,
I want to reread. I want to reread both of these.
Yeah,
because rereading these,
I know. Well, let's do
a journey.
The Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, and I left it for last just because it's kind of different.
It's such a departure.
Yeah,
but also not.
Yeah,
because if you ever get into Brandon, are you a fantasy fan at all?
No,
I didn't think I was until Brandon came into my life.
Okay, interesting.
Brandon.
How did Brandon come into your life?
An ex. Oh. Yeah, they're like traditionally like boy books.
Okay, got it.
But man, oh man, Brandon.
Yeah.
Good old Brandon. Apparently he's Mormon.
Yeah, he is. I looked that up.
Yeah.
He went to Brigham.
And it's interesting because I love like smut. I really love it. But Brandon's books I've read maybe 10 or 15 of his books. Like I've read a lot. I've read like tens of thousands of pages of Brandon Sanderson books. But because all of his books are like over 1,000 pages. But they're like PG-13. There's some romance, but I sometimes feel like with smut, sometimes the sex is like the shining light of the story, so it's almost like can be used as a crutch. And then like if you really read the book without any of the sex, you're like, how deep are these emotional, how big is this world building, like how meaningful is this writing? And with him, because he doesn't do any of that, it's like just so focused on the world building, the character building, the emotional connections, the symbolism. I found that especially in these books, in this trilogy, like the parallels of like society now and this like fantastical. Are we
sorry?
I was like, oh my god, I was talking about smut, and she's starting to like, what's he with me? And One Night Stand. We're getting into it. Wow. Okay. Now I'm distracted.
Yeah. We're like back to the fantasy.
Back to the fantasy. Literally, what was it? His world building.
Yeah, world building.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the parallels of like society.
Yeah.
There's like really heavy themes in this book of like societal hierarchies, and there's deep questions to be asked about the world, our country, ourselves. Brandon is, I think, a poet. Like I think this type of fantasy writing is because it's so symbolic and metaphorical and deep. Like, I think there's elements of poetry in there. But yeah, it's really fucking good.
Yeah, the fandom around it is huge. I
can't believe it. None of his books have really been made into shows or movies.
Well, I saw that they were optioned and then it lapsed. Why do you think they haven't been?
I don't know. I truly don't know. I wish I was young enough to play Vin, the like hero in this, but as I was reading it, I was kind of envisioning Millie Bobby Brown, but now I feel like maybe she's kind of aged out of, because it's like, I think she's like 14 or something.
Okay.
Or maybe
I was going to be like Ariana Greenblatt or someone like that.
Yeah. Maybe.
But I don't know.
Honestly, like, maybe I can produce this.
I think you should. Well, I think stuff like that should be produced by a super fan, someone who's going to like know all the stuff.
Know how to protect it too. Exactly. And like stay honest with what the point is. I would love to meet Brandon one day. I really, really love his books.
Do you want to get into producing?
I don't have like an extreme yearn for it right now, but I feel like, well, actually, that's not true. I kind of have this story that I'm like doing this book has unlocked like just new possibility of existing. Yeah. Because as an actor, like I've done a lot of creative things and put myself out there vulnerably in the world, but I've never seen something through and put something out that like fully just came from me, like the depths of me.
Yeah.
And knowing that I have that in me, I can express it in whatever way I want and then decide to like commit to see it through and turn it into like a hardcover book that's like going to be at a bookstore tomorrow. Like, that's a really cool expanding experience. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, I mean, I don't want to just like produce to produce, though. I feel like it would have to be something like this that like I needed to put out there, or else.
Are you a dancer as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Are you a dancer?
No, I'm definitely
I feel like
too
you have
British
it in you.
to dance. I very much
Is that
don't.
a thing? Can Brits not dance?
Well, we're just uptight, aren't we, constitutionally? Sadly.
But you've been in America a while. You're
It's
letting
true.
loose.
It's
You're feeling your feelings. You have a therapist.
It's very true.
We can
maybe
get you dancing.
Maybe get me dancing.
Yeah, I'll take you to a pole class.
Oh my God, I'd be like clinging on for dear life.
With the wolves. Not a ballet class, a pole class.
Do you do pole for exercise? Do you do that often?
I have taken, I've done it often, and I actually, in my new house, I want to turn one of the guest bedrooms into a pole room, because I like really want to commit to like learning the tricks. And all the teachers that I've taken class from are always, I'm like, how do I get good at these tricks? And they're like, you have to get a pole in your house so you can like practice.
Oh wow, yeah. So
but
you move beautifully, and I felt like it would be an interesting sort of like to see the sort of physical interpretation of some of these poems, like in movement, or just like
that's cool.
Maybe
my next like creative endeavor will be like turning this into like a I'll go on tour. Sad and Horny the tour.
Literally, I love
we're kind of onto something.
I saw a interpretation of D'Angelo's music in like dance form.
Wow.
And it was incredible. Wow. It was this like story of like, it was just one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Wow.
I loved it so
love
much.
that. I mean, dance is like my favorite art form.
Right.
It's like so universal, because like anyone, no matter what language you speak, you can watch a dance, and like everyone in the audience, like even if we're interpreting it differently or having different feelings, it's like everyone's like connected, but we're all seeing this same like. And like the emotion that comes from like pouring your body into a movement is so, like, there's been times when I've gotten off the stage and I'm like shaking and crying because of whatever I just like physically felt and expressed. Like, it's a really powerful form of art, and expression.
There was an incredible thing on Broadway maybe a year and a half ago now that had the music of Sufjan Stevens, and it was Sufjan. I knew you were going to know this,
Sufjan.
Marshall.
Wow,
Yeah.
Illinois.
Yeah. It was honestly just...
I love a clever little thing like that.
It was so incredible. But when I was looking, like whenever I'm doing my research and I was going through like TikTok, and there were lots of fans of your dancing. That was like a lot of the comments.
I don't have TikTok, so...
Oh, well, they also...
There's people who are nice about me on TikTok?
Oh, yeah, and a lot of saying...
Maybe I should join.
A lot of saying you look like Zoe Deutsch as well.
Yeah, that happens. Someone on the street the other day was like, oh my God, do I know you? And I was like, I don't know, depends. If you think I'm Zoe Deutsch or Florence Pugh, that happens quite often.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you think I'm one of them? They were like, no, you're the other girl. And I was like, yeah.
I love that.
I'm the other girl.
That's so fun. Well, those are two good people to be compared to.
Oh, yeah, I'm not mad at it. They're both beautiful and talented.
Exactly. But the dancing, I think that it's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you. I do love it. I had an ex that thought my dancing was cringe.
What?
Yeah. So I've like been yeah. You know, like when the world and external people like deem you cringe, it's like that's another thing I've been really releasing the last couple years of like, to be cringe is to be free.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
You've got to climb cringe mountain.
Yeah, you got to climb that thing. Also, like, I really feel like cringe is a reflection of the person who is cringing.
I agree.
I feel like it's like, why? Why does that make you cringe? Like, what are you not comfortable in yourself?
Yeah. Or it's often just misogyny as well. Like all the stuff that people say they think is cringe.
Misogyny is a thing.
Exactly.
Misogyny exists.
Yeah. I can't believe they said your dancing was cringe. That's awful.
Yeah, but it's like, I've realized now that it's a them thing, you know? Like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah. But yeah, I dance a lot more these days.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, thank you so much, Haley.
Thank
this was
you.
so fun. I loved it.
This.
Woo.
Wow, I don't know what.
Oh, look at that timing.
Perfect timing.
You see how I just stuck that landing?
That was, you did. You are good with time. Proud of you.